Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Ryan O'Donnell. We'll get started here in about 30 seconds to a minute. Got people coming in right now. If you don't mind, go ahead and post in the chat where you're calling in from. We've just got over 100 people who have joined so far. Would love to hear where everyone is calling in from today. Brandon from Utah. We've got some folks from Portland, Oregon, Louisville, Kentucky, Lovely from Chicago. I see Jen. Thank you for calling in from our friends at Staffmark. We've got a ton of people in here. This is going to be a really exciting session. It's January of 2022. I can't believe it. And today we're going to be talking about how to breathe life into your employee referral program for 2022. So thank y'all, everyone who have been commenting here. As I said, I'll be the host for today. My name is Ryan O'Donnell. I was the CEO and co-founder of EmployUs that Hireology acquired this past summer, and now I'm leading up some of the product organization here at Hireology. Today's webinar is all about how to spice up your employee referral program. As we all know, it is still highly unpredictable out there, and 2022 is bound to have a couple of curveballs for us. I'm not willing to say yet that 2022 will be the year everything goes back to normal. I am always on the side of not trying to wish any bad luck on anybody. So we'll just say that we know there's going to be some amount of uncertainty this year in our hiring process. So before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that we will be recording this session. We're going to be emailing it out to everyone in the next couple of days. If at any point during the webinar today you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. That's what we'll be moderating here throughout the session. Once we get to the end, I'll open it up for a series of question and answers. So you can save them until the end, or you can add them throughout, totally fine. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. As we all know, it is incredibly hard to hire. Wall Street Journal just came out with another stat, which probably doesn't surprise any of you all as business leaders, recruiting leaders, hiring managers. You feel this every single day. So Wall Street Journal found out that there are 2 unemployed job seekers for every 3 open jobs. It is a severe imbalance between the number of job seekers and let me see here. Let me see if I can update my screen share here. Okay, here we go. Let me know if this is better. Anyone in the comments wants to chime in? Let me know if this is working for you. Perfect. Great. Y'all are amazing. Thank you for letting me know. Otherwise, you'd just be reading my notes this entire time. So I appreciate that. As we all know, it is incredibly hard to hire. So at Hireology, one of the things that we are focusing on more and more is helping our customers figure out how they can diversify their talent pipelines, how they can use employer branding to attract people to their organization, get people through the hiring process faster. And we get to talk about my favorite subject, which is all about employee referrals. So with that, I wanted to let everyone know we did a survey of Hireology customers at the end of the year and found that 82% of companies said that they do have an employee referral program in place. But what we asked them really was, do you feel like it's working? Do you feel like it's driving the results that you want to see in your referral program? And what a lot of people said was, we have it. Like, we've checked that box. The program exists, but it might be more word of mouth. It might be kind of casual. It's not a kind of full-blown program. And we heard a lot of people say, like, it's not a source that they can rely on, like they can rely on job board traffic. They can rely on career page traffic. Some folks, they know that career fairs, even during COVID, have worked really well for them. So like they have sources that they can consistently go back to get candidates. And the question was like, how do we make our employee referral program into something like that? How do we actually make it work? And the reason for that is because, as we all know, referrals tend to be some of the best sources of new hires. So as we've seen here at Hireology with the stats on our customers, we've definitely seen that the quality is much better. So you're about twice as likely to move a candidate forward in the hiring process if they're a referral compared to non-referrals. They're about 4 times as likely to ultimately get hired. So again, they're a better fit. And they also get hired faster. So like across the board, referrals are great. But as a lot of our customers have told us is that, we love getting referrals, and it's wonderful when it happens, but how do we actually turn that into something that is, programmatic? How do we actually turn that into something that we can consistently rely on? So with that, really what the problems that we see that are kind of the most consistently heard when it comes to employee referral programs and why those programs aren't necessarily as reliable as you would like it to be, usually kind of fall into one of these buckets. So it's either too hard for folks to participate in, it's not really exciting, it's just like it's there. There might be a policy written somewhere, but the average employee has no idea how it works. We've gotten a lot of feedback, some folks saying, my company only offers X, whereas I see companies down the street, they're offering 5X, so there is a level of making sure that referrals are compensated appropriately if that's something that your company is doing. And then the other ones are really just around kind of consistency. So, right, is the program promoted enough? Is it promoted consistently through multiple channels? And you ultimately make sure that people get paid out on time, right? Like that's employees kind of put their best foot forward. They recommend their friends, and if they're expecting to get $1,000 referral bonus, and then they don't, naturally they tend to have bad experiences, and that can lead to more issues down the line. So over the course of this webinar, we're going to walk through each of those issues and try to give you all some easy ways to move the needle and actually address each of those. So the first one here is all about how do you make it really easy for people to participate in, and how I'd like to essentially talk about that is just ask everyone a question. A show of hands, feel free to drop it in the chat, like what your title is. Would love to see kind of who all is on the call right now. But the question I would pose to everyone is, how eager would you be to go do something outside of your day-to-day responsibilities? If it took, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. We've got a lot of HR managers, a lot of recruiters, a lot of folks who are doing this all day long. But for a lot of your employees, that's not their day-to-day job. They're out there actually, in some cases in the field, they're working with patients, they're working with clients. They are kind of on the front lines, so to speak, doing their day jobs. And what you think about for an employee like that, a lot of times they might know someone who would love to join their organization, but they don't necessarily know exactly how to get in the door. And your employee referral program is really no different. If employees are not hired to recruit, why should they go out of their way to help you staff up? It's very easy for employees to kind of have the attitude of, that's not my job. And the one thing that we talk a lot at Hireology and at EmployUs was just how do you turn your best employees into your best recruiters? And we know that we're not going to, pull everyone over, give them a LinkedIn recruiter account and expect them to go to all of our career fairs or conduct all of our interviews. But the one thing that employees can really help do is a few small, easy steps to actually move the needle forward with helping you attract more talented employees. So when it comes to your referral program, I really encourage people to simplify the process. So don't require folks to download an app. From a technical side, don't ask them to create a password, and just from a standard thing, like don't require them to fill out paper forms. I spoke once with a large regional healthcare system, and they still require people to fill out an individual piece of paper, have their manager sign it, and then that has to be faxed to HR. If they don't follow that process, they don't get their referral bonus. And as you can imagine, a lot of people wonder, where is the fax machine in the office? Because I really want that $1,000 referral bonus for referring a nurse. So, if it's really complicated, a lot of people either won't participate in it or they won't do it again. And I did see a couple questions about if we're going to be sharing the slides. All the slides will be shared out in the next couple of days with you as well. So no need to take notes on the slides. We'll make sure you get a copy of that and this presentation. From a broader standpoint, in terms of simplifying the process, we encourage folks to make it really easy. Make it so that your employees can refer someone from their phone, like scan a QR code, submit someone's name and email, or their name and phone number. Don't require employees to get a resume first. A lot of times they might not have that, or the job seeker, may prefer to personalize it for the specific job that they're applying for. So, really want to make it as easy as possible for employees to refer. Obviously, from the employer side, the way that we've done this is by making a really simple chatbot that you can text out to employees. You can find a QR code. You can put it in your email signature. That makes it really easy for anyone to submit a referral. I've gone out to manufacturing sites where, they're hiring folks who are making $12 an hour. And these folks, they don't have a computer at home, they said. And, their old way of doing referrals was trying to slide a resume under the HR manager's door and wondering why their referrals never got called. So with this, it's really easy. You can tell people exactly what they need. It's all a conversation. It's really easy for them to participate without having to juggle through a lot of complicated forms or applications. We've definitely seen this type of interface really boost the number of employees who actually participate, just because it's a really easy, kind of delightful experience. At the end of it, you're thanked and you're encouraged to share your jobs. So it's a really easy way to get people in the door participating in the program. Now, once you've simplified it, the other side is to actually build an excitement around the referral program. What I've seen is that most companies have had these programs around for years. New employees might not really know about it. And employees who have been around for longer may not have heard any success stories about the referral program. So I really encourage companies to look at ways of incorporating gamification into their referral programs. Since I saw we have Jen from one of our customers on the line, if I may, Jen, if I have your permission, can you just post in chat? Can I share what y'all have been doing? Because I just think it's some of the coolest stuff about JobFest. And I'll give her a second to see if she'll comment so we can share that. She says, of course, great. So Jennifer Fitzpatrick is one of our customers. She's over at Staffmark, and they did a huge campaign called JobFest, where they encouraged people to apply for jobs, take on shifts, refer their friends. And they had a lot of different campaigns and raffles, giving out gift cards. And ultimately, they gave out a brand new Tesla to one of their employees as a part of that contest. And I can tell you, they did this for months, and it was amazing to see the kinds of posts people were sharing on social media, the excitement of the referral program. It was something that was really easy to communicate. And it was something that got everyone really excited about, showing up for work, number one, but also telling their friends to come, work with Staffmark. So when we look at gamification, it's really kind of a great example of that. Have some elements of competition, set some clear rules, make it really easy to share. One of the things that you can do with EmployUs is encourage your employees to just share their own personal referral link on LinkedIn or Facebook. I've seen some employees of our customers create TikToks, create Instagram stories and reels, telling their friends why they love working at their company. And then, you don't have to do a whole lot of time promoting those, because their friends are liking those comments, they're sharing it. It's creating some virality around the actual jobs that your company has open. And there's some great examples of how companies have used this in employer branding to encourage people to share content and really participate in there. I saw a couple of folks might be raising their hands. If you have a question, feel free to drop it in the Q&A, and we'll make sure to address all of those as well. One thing I'll say here that we found was really fascinating is about 60% increase in engagement from doing these types of gamification techniques. This was applied specifically around like corporate training and getting people to participate in some of the actual training programs that companies have. And if you think about it, referrals is very similar. You could easily, as a part of your onboarding class, encourage people to share your open jobs. And as a part of your onboarding cohorts, you could rank the people who have sent in the most referrals. And at the end of onboarding, people's first, 2-3 weeks on the job, you could highlight the top 2 or 3 people who have submitted the most referrals. So these types of things, they work in other areas. They can definitely be applied to your referral program as well. So when it comes to gamifying it, like I said, we've seen some great success of companies having a public leaderboard. You can do that with your recruiters as well. If you want to encourage your recruiters to ask for referrals, you can easily see in EmployUs which recruiters are bringing in the most referrals, which employees are driving the most referrals. And then you can reward them. We've seen some companies offer trips to Vegas. We've seen some companies offer a free dinner for 2 or some other cool rewards like that as well. One other example I want to highlight here is a company called Red Hat. They have a really great employee referral program. And their program is called the Red Hat Ambassador Program. And what they found was that their employees really coveted having these different levels that they could attain based on how many referrals that they submitted that ultimately got hired. And with each level, you got certain amounts of swag as well as an increased referral bonus amount. So at one level, you get a free t-shirt. And then at the next, you get a 25% enhanced referral bonus. So if you're going to give someone 1,000, if it was their second one, you'd give them $1,250. They also had these really coveted hoodies and capes. Hold on with me. It worked because these employees would put at their desk if they had the Red Hat, Ultimate Ambassador hoodie. It was a very coveted, prized possession that only a few employees could get because they had referred 5 people that had gotten hired. So if you think about that, how many people work at your company? And if you had 5 to 10% of your employees who have referred more than one person to come work for you, you could fill, just doing the math right there, 10% of your employees, if they refer 2 people that get hired, you could hire at least 20% of your entire company just through referrals from that one type of campaign. So big fans of trying to make it fun. That's different for every company. So what works for Red Hat might not work for you. I've seen some companies where, they're very sales-driven culture. They have a massive check that they just bring out to the sales floor whenever someone gets a referral bonus, and they get to put that check at their desk until the next person wins it. So you can see the check kind of bouncing around between people's desks as well. So really cool ways to incentivize referrals just from a recognition standpoint that can cost very little. But what I want to kind of transition and talking to next is really all about how do you set the right referral bonus? Because it's January. I know a lot of companies, this is the time when they're trying to evaluate whether or not their referral program is actually producing the results they're seeing, and if they want to update what they're offering to their employees. That might be a short-term contest, or that might be a more holistic review of what referral bonuses they're offering. Sometimes we have seen that by offering too little is actually worse than offering nothing at all. Some companies have had tremendous success in offering no referral bonus at all, but just asking for referrals and having a culture where those referrals are valued, they get hired, put through the hiring process, but also where employees love coming into work. They love telling their friends about the company as well. So, I'll preface this by saying not all companies need to offer a referral bonus. The ones who do, you want to make sure it's the right amount, so that you're not, potentially having any backlash with what that amount is. So when it comes to actually setting the referral bonus, the general rule of thumb is the harder it is to fill the role, the more you should pay out. If we think what a lot of our alternatives are to a referral program, if we haven't yet filled the job, you might consider hiring a recruiting agency to fill that position. And most employees know that, a typical recruiter could charge 20% of someone's first year salary to fill that job. So, if you've got someone who's going to be making, $75,000 a year, you're looking at a $15,000 recruitment fee if you're unable to fill that job with your own internal resources. So when it comes to employee referral payouts, you don't have to pay $15,000. That's the good news. But you definitely want to make sure you're setting the right amount. So we've put together kind of a breakdown here of what we've seen as kind of the most common referral bonus ranges for different types of roles. So just to kind of dive in on the high volume roles, if it's more hourly positions or seasonal work, or maybe just more on the shift side of things, we typically see companies offering $25 to $150 as a referral bonus. That's typically in cash or a gift card. We've seen a lot of success in setting those as paid very quickly. So perhaps not waiting for someone to work 90 days, but after they work for 40 hours, send someone $100. You want to make sure they show up to work, but you might not necessarily want to tell the person that they have to wait several months to get $100. As you move up into more salaried roles or corporate roles, you might look at offering referral bonuses anywhere between $500 and $2,000 is typically the range. We don't see a huge increase once you go beyond $2,000 in referral bonuses. Of course, for some select roles, you might want to offer more just to differentiate it from others. As you'll see here, for some hard to fill and critical roles, you might see bonuses ranging between $5,000 and $10,000. That's something we'll definitely see if a company needs to hire employees with a particular type of credentialing. If you need someone with like a top secret security clearance, or a particular type of software engineer, or licensed clinicians, or areas where there's just a severe talent shortage, you might have that, and you might offer that in conjunction with a sign-on bonus as well, where you'll offer a $5,000 referral bonus and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's definitely, I would say, not the norm for most companies, but we typically say that if your numbers are somewhat in this range, you're probably on the right end of the spectrum. If you have any questions about what companies in your industry might be offering, I'm more than happy to answer that in the Q&A. But we typically see that the longer that someone is employed, the more you can pay out a referral bonus. So you might break it up and you might offer $3,000 paid out over the course of a year, but you might pay that out in several increments. So when it comes to actually building out that payout schedule, a lot of folks will wonder, should you pay it out all at once? Should you, make sure the hire is a good fit? Should you split it up? In general, I'm a big fan of simplicity. So if it takes you having to pull out a policy to know exactly what you're going to pay someone, I usually advise against that, because then it's kind of hard to communicate with employees what the actual referral program is. And it can also be really hard to manage, especially if you're doing it manually, keeping track of multiple payouts, the 30-day mark, the 90-day mark, the 180-day mark. That can get kind of complicated. Software can obviously make that a lot easier if that's how you want your program designed. But, what we've seen is employees typically are more likely to participate if they get paid sooner, even if the amounts are less. So if you're debating, should we pay out a bigger bonus after a year? or a smaller bonus after 30, 60, 90 days, definitely go with the 30, 60, 90 day route as opposed to the year. As we all know, we definitely live in a society of instant gratification. Your employees who are referring, for a lot of them, they don't control how that person's onboarding goes. They don't control if that person is in a revenue producing role, are they hitting their quota? Typically we see encourage the employees to submit the referrals, pay them out as soon as you can, as soon as it makes sense for your company to make sure that it's a good hire. But make sure you don't make people wait unnecessarily too long. Now, assuming you've got the program set up, you're promoting it, you've got everything set up with the right referral bonuses, really what comes next is all about how you effectively communicate your referral program. And when it comes to promoting your referral program, the thing that I always like to talk about is, just to pull from our friends over in marketing, is really the rule of 7. For many of you all, this is not new. I mean, so many of you all have been in recruiting for a long time. And, this from a sales and marketing context, being able to have 7 interactions with a candidate, with a customer, is typically required before someone actually takes an action. So, it's not as easy as promoting the referral program, once a year or once a quarter at a company meeting. You really want to make sure it's something that is continuous, that is kind of always in the back of people's minds. Otherwise, it's very easy for them to, forget about it. So I usually think that just the not sure how scientific it is, but just the science of repeating the same message over and over again can really help. I know that certainly helps me as I'm raising my son, just repeating things over and over again until it takes root. With that, there's a couple of tips and tricks that we've seen that work really well to try to get a couple of different touch points that aren't, the same thing over and over again. With that, typically what we'll see is companies obviously will promote it in any sorts of, all company meetings. At Hireology, we have a weekly, all hands that's virtual, and our head of recruiting gets up every week, talks about a new role that we're highlighting that week, talks about the referral program, some things that we're looking for in that role beyond, just what might be in the job description. If it's a sales rep working in a particular vertical, we might say, hey, if you know someone who's worked in this space, or if you know someone who's from this market, we would love to meet them. That might help employees kind of trigger who do they know who might be a good fit. That's a great opportunity. You can make it as public as possible, and you can encourage, a leader in the recruiting organization, as well as perhaps someone from the company's leadership team as well. We've seen that work as well. Getting the CEO behind it, driving referrals is a great way to keep promoting the program. The others are around like email and text campaigns. So we typically advise customers to send out, maybe a weekly or bi-weekly just a jobs campaign to their internal employees, letting them know what jobs are open, in their department, in their office, so that, it's a constant reminder that the company is hiring. So like a lot of employees, if they're not told about an open job, they're not thinking about it. But if you can keep that in front of them, letting them know like, hey, we just opened this job. This is a job we would love to get candidates for. That's an easy ask for the employees. You can also change it up. These are all the jobs that we're having a really hard time filling. It's been 60 days and we just don't have enough applicants. Can you ask around and see if you know anyone? Outside of the email campaigns, we know that those inboxes can get cluttered, and some employees, honestly, they're not even checking their email that often, or they might not even have a corporate email account. But being able to leverage text campaigns is a really great way to engage your employees, especially if they're, hourly or mobile, not sitting at a desk all day long. It's really easy to spin up a text campaign with EmployUs and promote it out to ask your employees to refer someone in, about 30 seconds directly from their phone. We'll see that that is a really easy way to get a lot of engagement. And you want to, control how much you're doing. Obviously you don't want to get a text from your employer every day. But you might send out a campaign, twice a month, once a month, promoting it to your new hires, for example, or promoting it to employees within a particular department. So being targeted and giving people a more specific ask is a lot better than just kind of always saying, hey, we're hiring, let us know. But being able to be much more specific and saying, hey, sales team, we're hiring in your area for sales. Please share these jobs in your network. And if you know someone, please refer them. You could easily ask all your new hires. If you're doing a lot of campus recruiting, ask all your new hires, hey, who do you know who is a year behind you in school? Please refer them here. So those are all different types of copy you can kind of put into your campaigns to promote them. And then the last is just physical signage. I can't tell you how many of our customers have built an entire robust referral program that drives 20-30% of all of their hires with something as simple as a flyer with a QR code. These are a couple of examples of some emails and texts, but we've seen a flyer just like this at like local YMCAs. Well, they'll put them in the break rooms and like the community bulletin board, on the doors going into the bathrooms. And it's a really easy public way to encourage people to refer. Obviously, a lot of restaurants will have this. If you go into stores that have in-person dining, they might have a sign or a QR code on their door encouraging people to apply. You can do the exact same thing with your referral program and encourage your employees to scan the QR code and submit a referral. Keep it as easy as possible so they can know that it's a program that's always running. They know how to start referring. They just scan the QR code and they're good to go. Now, assuming you've got the program well communicated, the next part is really making sure that you're following through on the actual referral bonuses. We talk about everything else. You can be an expert marketer. You can be an expert designer of your referral program. You can have all of the right components. But if you offer a referral bonus and it doesn't get paid out, or employees have to jump through lots of hoops, that's a really easy way to kill your referral program. So one thing that we've seen companies breathe life into their referral program is just acknowledging that if that was a problem, it's okay to say that was a problem. A lot of times we'll hear from companies that'll just say, the referrals were tracked in a lot of different spreadsheets, or, we didn't know which hiring managers were offering a referral bonus at different times. Maybe the eligibility criteria wasn't clear, so an employee thought they were getting a bonus, but they were actually involved in the hiring process. So maybe that means that they're not eligible. So these are some of the most common things: is just forgetting to pay, paying it late, paying the wrong amount. We've seen some companies will pay the wrong person just because they didn't have good tracking to know who actually is referring one person or another. I've seen some crazy horror stories of some, even like Fortune 100 companies with, massive investments in their HR infrastructure. But when it came time for their referral bonus payouts, I was in someone's office and they had a whiteboard, and they just said they had the employee's name, they had a date, and they had an amount, and they would just cross it off once they got paid. You can imagine how fragile a system like that is, and how employees can get frustrated if they have to always keep following up with HR. And no one wants to get an email thread with 6 or 7 responses of an employee trying to figure out who they need to talk to in order to get their referral bonus paid out. When it comes time to actually processing these bonuses, it's really important to have a single unified view of all of your referral bonuses. And as you're thinking about potentially like revamping your referral program for 2022, it's okay to tell your employees that we know sometimes it's been hard to get paid, but we're making upgrades to make sure that you get paid out on time, every time. That one statement has done wonders for a lot of our clients. So, with EmployUs, everything is tracked so you can send out updates automatically to employees when new referrals come in that ultimately go through the hiring process and get hired. you can trigger notifications to employees so that they know exactly when they're going to get their referral bonus. When is it going to come out? How much is it? And what might happen to cause it not being paid out. So if you require people to stay employed for 90 days, and then you tell them at 90 days, hey, we're really sorry, your referral, they quit at day 60. We're going to make sure to let you know that so that you're not wondering for another 30 days, am I still getting that referral bonus or not? So with this, we try to make it really easy for you to track all of the referral bonuses all in one place, so that you've got a centralized record of all referral bonuses that have been submitted and approved. As you can see here, you've got very clearly identified when was someone referred, when is their payout due, and then you can set up all the workflows you need and reports to make sure that these get processed in the right payroll run, so that people get paid out on time. With that, what I want to do is go ahead and move in here just to a couple of things to summarize here and how you can breathe life into your referral program. We've talked about a lot today, and we're about to open it up for Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A, and we'll spend as much time as you all want answering any of your questions about your referral programs. So obviously what we talked about today, we talked about how to make it really easy to participate. Rule number 1, don't make people spend more than 5 minutes doing something that is not their day job. Rule number 2 is all about creating excitement in the referral program. We talked about how Staffmark did a great job of raffling off a Tesla, lots of gift cards. We talked about how Red Hat has a great ambassador program giving out cool swag. Rule number 3 is all about setting the appropriate referral bonus amount. You want to make sure if you are offering a bonus, and you don't have to, that it's the right amount. So that might be, $50, $100 for an hourly role, a couple $1,000 for a salaried role. And then rule number 4 is just communicating the program often and through the right channels. So we talked about the rule of 7. We talked about how you don't want to rely only on one source, with like a company email. You want to mix it up, have it in a meeting, have it in flyers, have it in different emails timed throughout the year, different text message campaigns throughout the year. You want to have as many of those as possible. And then the last one is you want to make sure that you're following through on all your bonus payouts. One really easy way to check this, if you want to take a look at 2021 and just see all of the referral bonuses that were paid, compare that to when people actually started working, and just check, are we paying out our bonuses on time? And just see, is that a problem? And if it is, just name it and then solve it, and make it really easy so that the process is transparent for your employees and that they know that if you're offering them a referral bonus, that they're going to get paid out on time. So with that, that is the kind of conclusion to this webinar. We are going to go ahead and open it up to questions. So if anyone has anything that they would like me to cover, go ahead and post it in the Q&A. And I've got right now 3:40 Eastern, so we can stay on as long as you'd like. If you would like to drop, feel free. But if you have any questions, I'll go ahead and give everyone about a minute to go ahead and post that in the Q&A, and then we will get started. If you have to leave, I just want to say thank you so much for joining. And just a reminder, we will be sending out the slides and this recording to everyone as well. A lot of thank yous. You're welcome, everyone, Becky and everyone else. If anyone has a question, feel free to drop them in. So far, we don't have any questions, which is almost a first. Looks like we got someone signed up late. John, if you have signed up, then you're good. You don't have to provide any other information in here. That's all set. Had one question. Are we giving out SHRM continuing ed credits? And if so, what are the codes? What about international referrals? I do apologize, Connie. This is not an official, SHRM class for your credits. And in terms of international referrals, I'm more than happy to speak about that. and then we'll address some of the other questions in here. When it comes time for international referrals, it really depends on how your company is set up. If you have a company that is predominantly US based with most of your hiring based here, we've seen some companies have just one program where all of the amounts are all in US dollars. But if you have, several regional offices, we usually encourage companies to have a specific referral program for each market so that the jobs in that market are in the currency of that market. As well as being able to communicate that in a way that is appropriate, for that audience. While in the United States, it is totally acceptable to send out a text message campaign to employees. If you did that in other parts of the world, you could get a lot of pushback. So, definitely encourage you to tailor that to different campaigns, different markets is really important. As far as promoting it or like supporting, multilingual. If that's something that you're interested in terms of EmployUs, we're live in about 50 different countries. Some countries have a great referral culture where everyone is referring. Other countries, it's not as common or socially acceptable to refer people. So if you have any questions about that, more than happy to, set up some time one-on-one to talk through that as well. But yeah, that's really everything on the international referral side. We're going to go ahead and look here, a couple more questions here. Someone said, do you have an app to recommend? Obviously, I am very biased. But if you are looking for a tool to help you get referrals, obviously check out EmployUs. It's the app that I built that Hireology acquired last year. We help companies really automate their referral programs and scale them up so you can easily get more referrals and keep everything tracked all in one place. It takes about a couple hours to set up, and you can send out your first referral campaign and keep everything tracked. If you're a current Hireology customer, it'll work completely seamlessly with your ATS, no separate logins or anything like that. If you use a different ATS, we also integrate with several dozen of the top ATS providers as well. So thank you for that question, Brandon. Also looks like someone else had an anonymous question. They said, does Hireology have a program to help us with referrals? Also, yes, that would all be EmployUs. Please talk to your account manager if you would like to get access to EmployUs. They'd be more than happy to turn that on. Just mentioned you saw this webinar, you spoke with Ryan, more than happy to come join you on your kickoff call. A couple questions from David Farrell. Is it okay to target the very top performers, assuming referrals will also be high performers as well? David, that is a great question. For companies that have a robust program, this is one of the best ways to promote the referral program, is targeting some of your best employees. So, particularly, in sales, right? Like target, everyone who's in the President's Club, ask them for referrals. You want to get referrals from your high performers, especially. Not to say that, you don't want referrals from everybody else, but especially those employees are going to be able to have probably a network of other high performers from their previous roles, as well as being able to keep track of those as well. Another question also from David. Thank you so much for asking some questions here. Do you recommend smaller bonuses for referrals that result in an interview and then a larger bonus if they are hired? Great question. I haven't seen as many companies do that. I used to promote that a lot a few years ago. It hasn't really caught on. A lot of, apps out there, I take an example of like Uber, right? Like I can get a referral code and get $25 on Uber Eats if I refer a friend who joins. A lot of companies aren't necessarily paying out referral bonuses for new candidates or interviews. We have seen some do that, and they'll offer something really small, like, a $25, $50 Amazon gift card if you refer someone that takes a phone screen or completes an on-site interview. Definitely something that can help, especially if you look at the cost per hire or cost per applicant. You could easily pay several $100s to get a candidate through a traditional job board spend. Whereas if you offer $50 for an interview for a candidate that has a 50% chance of getting hired, those are my kind of numbers. That's a much better, higher quality candidate to engage with. Another question here from Brandon Richards. If you're a smaller company, how do you go about starting a referral program? That's a great question. If you're a smaller company, I really encourage you to do a couple of things. Number one, make sure that you ask for referrals from your smaller team. Everyone's going to be working with everyone, and they might as well have a simple way to refer. So, if you're a company with like 10, 20, 30 employees, you might be able to get by with just saying like, hey, email the CEO, email the head of HR with your referrals directly, and then we'll keep track of it. And there are easy ways to do this. If the volume for your size, isn't more than 10 to 20 referrals over the course of a year, a spreadsheet is a great way to solve that. And just having a simple guidance of, if you have a referral, send them to this person or fill out this form. You don't necessarily have to invest in a tool if you're a company, with like 10, 20 employees. But if you're, perhaps in the range of like 50, 100, 200 employees, you might want to consider having a more streamlined process, just so it's documented and you don't have to manually check all of those things. Another question on recording. Yes, this is recorded, and yes, you'll get a recording of this in a few days. Another question here. Would you say long-term tenured employees are usually better at referring, or newer hires who are still in the honeymoon stage? That's a great question. Whoever asked that, I'll say, this. I know several companies where the average employee's tenure is well over 5 years. And a lot of their employees' social networks are tied in with their current company. They don't necessarily have a large professional network outside of the organization. So they might be really experienced. They might have a large following of people who know they work at the organization, but newer hires tend to have a much larger network of people who do not work at your company today. So, it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for. You want to make sure that you're not creating kind of a barrier for candidates where like the only way to get hired is if someone who's been working there for 5 years recommends you. But what we have seen are companies set up different types of campaigns to target those different groups. So I usually recommend all companies turn on, when they're using EmployUs, you can turn on an automated onboarding campaign, which will ask new hires to submit a referral during their onboarding process. This is a great way to engage them and make sure that every new hire knows about the referral program. And that's when they're telling all their friends they just joined. It's immediate social proof. The longer tenured employees are a great group to recognize the ones who are submitting a lot of employees through the referral program that are getting hired. That's also a great way to engage employees who might be in positions of leadership, where they might be encouraging their departments to refer. You could have a leaderboard around that. Or if you have longer tenured employees who are leading employee resource groups, you might tap them to be your kind of like employee advocates to help generate more social content, who might be more willing to go to career fairs or events where perhaps new hires might not have all of the same context to do some of those things. So great question there. Got a question here. We have a sales position that is 100% commission and is the most difficult to fill. Any tips or techniques for employees to find the right folks? It's a whole different animal. I can tell you, John, that was one of the first jobs that I ever had to work on back when I was a recruiter. Straight commission sales jobs are really tough. The one thing that I've seen has worked really well, just in terms of structuring the referral program, is setting it up so that you get a referral bonus for one of two conditions: for generating leads for the sales recruiter who they can contact with people who might be a good fit, And that's where, as someone else had commented or asked a question earlier, you might give them a $25 gift card for just referring someone who takes the phone screen. The other way to set it up is, to set it up where, they have to complete a sale. If you have like a sales training program, we'll usually time the referral bonuses to that. When it's a revenue generating role, if you can tie it to some, reasonable metric, like if in your company you have to generate a certain amount of sales within the first period of time, you can definitely, use that as an incentive to, if you're going to generate X, offer a referral bonus less than X to incentivize people to refer in a way that's going to be profitable for the company. We'll say I've seen a lot of companies that are in retail who have done, where they are all straight commission. And one thing that has worked really well for them is having many of their salespeople also hold some level of recruiting responsibility, especially kind of in individual markets where they might have, an individual like office or territory that they're responsible for driving sales. And a piece of that is in driving, recruiting efforts as well. So that's where we've seen some of these folks who aren't, traditional recruiters use our product like they were a recruiter, and they'll post out their own personal link and ask their network to also refer people. So instead of only offering a referral bonus to your current employees, you might arm all of your sales reps, all of your recruiters with the ability to offer a referral bonus to anyone who refers someone who gets hired. We've seen folks do that in retail as well as in hospitality, and that's worked really well because there's so much, foot traffic. And if you have a good experience with someone, you're more likely to recommend a customer to them. You're also more likely to tell people who might be looking for a job to come work there. So, having an example of that would be like on the back of people's business cards, you could put a link that says interested in our jobs, click here, put my name down as the person who referred you, give those to all your sales reps, and then, give them an extra way to earn a little bit extra money along the way. Got one more question here from David. If the condition is that the person they referred has to stay for 90 days, can that be perceived as a bait and switch? Great question. I think some companies, they put a lot of hurdles. I think the 90-day thing, that's pretty common for a lot of companies. It might be 30 days, might be 60, it might be 90. The longer it is, it can definitely feel like that. But I really advise folks don't have too many eligibility criteria. Sometimes it's really hard to know, what if the person applied on the careers page a week before I referred them? Or what if a staffing agency submitted them the last month, but they never actually went forward with an interview? I usually like to advise folks, like, it's okay to have a set period of time just to make sure they're there for like 30 days, but try to limit the amount of edge cases because it can be a real burden to administer that first and foremost. But a lot of times employees don't know, who's applying on the career site, for example, or who's an agency submitting. A lot of companies, they've got thousands of people in their ATS. So, it can definitely feel like a bait and switch if, you have a former applicant from a couple years ago who is not being considered, and then an employee refers them. And because that employee referred them, they ultimately apply, they get hired. That's definitely a situation where, you might have a policy of not paying people that are former applicants, but that can really feel like a bait and switch if the reality is that employee is the reason why that person ultimately got hired. So great question, David. Thanks for asking that as well. And with that, we've got about 4 minutes left. I think I have seen all of the questions here that have come on in. So I want to thank everyone for doing that. If you've got any other questions, feel free to drop them in. And I am more than happy to stay past the session if anyone has any other questions. But if not, I just want to thank everyone for being so engaged. It was lovely seeing everyone, where y'all are calling in from, your different roles. I hope this helps you figure out how to get the most from your referral program in 2022. If you are interested in boosting your referral program, if you're a current Hireology customer, just contact your account manager or feel free to contact support and ask to start using EmployUs, and they'll be more than happy to talk with you about getting that turned on. If you're not currently using Hireology and you're interested in either upgrading your applicant tracking system, or if you're just interested in learning more about referrals, my door is always open. I am more than happy to talk about best practices and things that have worked well. EmployUs is still offered standalone. So if you use another ATS provider, we integrate with pretty much everyone out there. So, more than happy to help you all boost your referrals, even if you're not a Hireology customer as well. I did just see a question come in from Ellen. Thank you for commenting in here. You've said, I have all applicants that interview complete a tracking sheet that you use as an employee referral criteria. If the name is on there, we pay out the bonus if hired. That's great, Helen, a great example of how you can do things, manually. I'd say one thing that we definitely encourage people to do, if they don't already have a way to track referrals, starting with a spreadsheet is the easiest way to get things rolling. Once that becomes either not enough or hard to keep track of, that's usually when folks call us if they want to get more referrals on that spreadsheet. That's where being able to run some campaigns through EmployUs can really help get more referrals in at the top of the funnel. So definitely thanks for sharing kind of how you're doing it over there. That is a great point. With that, I don't see any other questions coming in here, so we'll go ahead and get things wrapped up here. Thank you so much. Again, this will be sent out to everyone in the next couple of days, so be sure to look at your emails to get a full copy of the slides and the presentation today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact info@hireology.com, and we would be more than happy to get back with you. Again, thank you all so much. Really appreciate everyone's engagement. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And with that, I will say goodbye. Thank you, everyone.